Now, people criticise the National Assistance Act. I'm very protective about the National Assistance Act, as you gather, but the National Assistance Act was slightly obsessed with residential care, and we have moved away from reliance on institutions. We have, in the last century, gone a long way to closing the big institutions, the residential institutions, the mental hospitals, the handicap hospitals. We have sort of created little institutions, but in significant measure, we have closed some of these big and pretty awful institutions. And we've moved away from that form of care to community-based care, trying to keep disabled people in their own homes. And so another act comes along in 1970 called the Chronically Sick and Disabled Persons Act, and it's a jewel of an act as well. It was an act passed by an MP called, it was written by an MP called Alf Morris, Lord Morris now. Well, he recently died, unfortunately. And the trouble with the Chronically Sick and Disabled Persons Act, it's a wonderful act, but it was written by somebody who isn't a lawyer. I've written a number of private members' bills, and they're all completely incomprehensible because I'm a lawyer, and we pride ourselves on writing things that you don't understand, because you then have to come and ask us what it means, and we charge you. But unfortunately, Alf wasn't a lawyer, so he wrote an act in very simple language. He basically said, when somebody needs something on this list, when a local authority is satisfied somebody needs something on that list, it's got to provide it. Full stop. Not subject to resources. It's got to provide it. And that's still true today. And the Law Commission, again, have criticised this act, which I love, and it will probably be codified next year. But it's a lovely list, because it shows what we've lost. Practical assistance in the home, wireless. It's not a Wi-Fi, it's a wireless. This is a nice list. These are a range of community-based services a local authority must provide if they've decided somebody needs it. I'm not going to go through these in detail, although I did a session last year with MenCap on this, and they criticised my presentation technique because it didn't have enough pictures. So this is sort of my revenge. Practical assistance to the home, what's that? Well, historically, that was ironing and hoovering, comrades. You know, it was a social care system. Shropshire County Council would have had an extensive home help service. And you would have got it. And you wouldn't only have got it, you would have got it without charge, because charging didn't exist until 10 years ago. Charging, which is really steep now, didn't exist. Far more people got these low-level services. Today the government goes on and on about proactive services, but we've never had fewer. We don't have home helps. We don't have Meals on Wheels much. It's a small relic of what it used to be. But practical assistance in the home could also be a sitting service. I'm sitting with Fred because his mother is at work or she's gone away. I am employed by the local authority to sit with Fred because if he's at risk of harm if somebody isn't with him. I'm there because a night sitting service so that Fred, if he wakes up, doesn't come to harm. I'm there. I'm not sitting with the carer. A sitting service is for the disabled person. It's on the disabled person's assessment under the community care assessment because it's a service under the Chronically Sick and Disabled Persons Act. So again, respite care is a service to the disabled person, and once it's been decided, it's got to be done. Wireless library TV, that can be sort of braille books, it can be all sorts of supports, lectures, games, outings. I mean, in the old days, a lecture, game, outing, these are community-based activities. They would be the day centre. Now, of course, in the 80s and 90s, everybody said day centres are terrible things, blah, 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 blah. And some of them were not brilliant, but a lot of them weren't bad. A lot of my clients liked them. But now they're told they're not allowed to do that because it's dogmatically a bad thing. They've got to now go paragliding during the day instead because it's called personalisation. And, you know, I've been at meetings where ministers have said that, and you really ask about their medication. You know, this is absurd, but this is what we're being told. Most of the day centres have gone. You know, some of them weren't great, but if you decide I need to go to a day centre, how am I going to get there? You know, do I have wings? Do I have a helicopter? No, I don't. Oh, but your family can do it. Well, your family don't necessarily have to do that because we've abolished the liable family rule. Oh, but you get mobility component. Well, I get mobility component, yes, I do, but not to pay for the taxi once a week. I get it because I have a wheelchair, or I need all sorts of things in the week. I don't get mobility component just to hand it over to the local authority. I was doing this with MenCap, and we were doing a talk in, I won't name the authority, we'll just call it Oldham. And they just said because of the cutbacks, they don't do transport anymore. I thought, wow, I thought parliamentary laws extended even into Oldham. But, people forget that a lot of these things are underpinned by law. Holidays. I mean, in the old days, most urban authorities would have had modest little sort of chalets around the coast like this, where people would go and spend a weekend. They did, you got a holiday. You don't do that anymore. They've gone. All those, Hackney chalets in Bognor Regis have gone. These are things we've lost because what we've forgotten is social care has been cut and cut and cut. A lot of the quality is good, and a lot of disabled people are getting very good services, but it is the neglected area. And then we get meals and telephones. Meals and telephones are very interesting. I go on about those. I mean, meals are quite an interesting issue because... No, I'm not going to go there. Sorry. This is nothing to do with carers really, but we've abolished institutionalisation. So we say. I think we've just abolished the big institutions. We've got now mini institutions, Winterbournes and Southern Cross and things like that. But we're also we're institutionalising disabled people by the way we respond to their needs. You don't need, if you're an elderly person, to be helped cook, to buy food, to go to the supermarket. We'll just give you something you can heat up. So you don't socialise. We don't take you to the cinema. You can sit in front of your computer. We don't let you go to the shop because you can buy it online. We're sort of creating institutionalisation within people's homes. They're just stuck there looking at their computer. And they can buy food, they can see films, they can eat. But, that in a way meets the needs. But that's a form of institutionalisation that, I'd almost rather be in a ward with 15 other people than that. Anyway, you only get these services if the local authority is satisfied you need it. Often the local authority may not be satisfied you need a home help because they'll say, what if you don't have it? And if the answer isn't, I'll suffer significant harm, then you won't get it. Local authorities can't say, we don't do home helps anymore. Here's a list of age concern. I mean, local authorities all do that these days, but in fact they can't say we don't do home helps anymore because Parliament said once they're satisfied something's necessary, they've got to do it. And that could include a home help. But generally those sort of services don't hit the eligibility criteria. The eligibility criteria, as I say, are the question, if you ask the question, what if we don't do this? Unless the answer is significant harm, then they're going to say, well, it's not sufficiently high on our criteria for us to respond to that.